Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.
This is another great episode of the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society. Yeah. And do we have a great one for you today? I don't know what's going on with this. Can we change this up here? 89. Oh wow, look at this. We've got the wrong label, but this is the 90th episode of the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society podcast. We're your host. I'm Crazy D.
Tracy.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And do we have a great show for you today? Our guest that's coming on very shortly is Keith Lea from Stockton, California. He is not just up and coming, but an established independent filmmaker, director, writer, and we're going to be talking to him about his career, his new web series on Amazon, and his previous films. And we're going to be reviewing tonight the film called Greedy, right? That he put together with Black Market Records, and we're going to be talking all that with him. But first, let's get to the how your week was. How was your week?
It was good, other than fighting this cold.
Other than fighting a cold.
Other than fighting a cold.
And how did that come about? Oh, that's it's hard out here in Las Vegas because they have this thing.
Face mask.
Yeah, that's right. They have this thing called
desert fever.
Desert fever, and if you're not careful,
if it's windy,
and you're sucking it up without a mask on, you may catch it, and that cough lasts from whenever you catch it
forever.
Until April. That's right, people. So let's go to what's happening in the blurbs real quick before we start with our guests, right? So blurbs, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Has a tentative $25 million settlement, right, with his accusers.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
Bill Cosby's behind bars.
Yeah, Bill Cosby is in prison, and R. Kelly is in jail,
right,
awaiting,
right,
possible prison. How about that?
Right.
How about that for a juxtaposition of power structure and what actually happens when you have the complexion for the protection?
Doesn't that seem unfair?
Yes. And meanwhile, 50 Cent came out about Oprah and said, how come Oprah is going after it appears she's only going after black men, right? Well, but she's not going after Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein.
Well, they showed, didn't he produce for a few of Oprah's productions, and they, and then they show pictures. You can see pictures all over the net with her and him. So I guess maybe because he's a friend of hers.
But Mike was a friend. Right, Mike was a friend, and
well, who knows? Maybe the Harvey Weinstein Oprah documentary will be coming up next after the Russell Simmons one.
The Russell Simmons. Now she's going to go after Russell Simmons, right? But here's Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein, who has been using his power as a person to go on ahead and.
Well, I'm sure she's going to do one on Harvey Weinstein, right? Because Oprah wouldn't want to look as if she's only going after black men, would she?
I don't know. It's been said, and it looks like it's coming to full fruition, that she's been going after black men for a while, even on her show back in the day. Isn't that what people used to complain about Oprah? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to just assume.
Keep hope alive.
That because the Harvey Weinstein story is huge, and
So
she's gonna cover
address it.
him also.
Really?
Because she's a journalist, right?
She's a journalist?
So didn't she go to school for journalism? And so I'm going to assume that she's also going to be doing a documentary on Harvey Weinstein as well, because she would not want to come across as someone that is only going after black
men.
Men.
She wouldn't want to come across like that.
No, not Oprah.
Not Oprah. All right, people. So enough of Oprah, but Oprah adjacent.
Okay.
Monique has landed a role, people.
Good.
Mother Trucker.
Okay.
Right? It's a action adventure movie set during the Nixon impeachment hearings.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Didn't Monique warn us about Oprah when she told Oprah something in confidence so that she wouldn't have her people come up, or wouldn't have her family come on the show, but Oprah took what she did, she says, we'll say allegedly, and took it and brought her family on and profited from it. Advertisement sells things, right? Didn't Monique warn us about Oprah?
Well then, but people have warned us about Monique also, so I mean you could take all of that with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah, with a grain of salt. I'll agree with that automatically.
Right.
Also in the news, Orlando Jones.
Okay.
Right? Another blurb from the news. Fired from American Gods.
Okay, so I don't even know if I want to watch American Gods without Orlando Jones.
We had reviewed American Gods earlier this year, like we had reviewed it last year for the first season. We reviewed the second season, said the first 4 episodes made Shadow Moon look soft, look like a simp, look like a coon, but then look like they went back and got the script from the previous showrunners, and brought it into its own from the 5th episode on. It was just jumping, and we talked about how the black actors, being they had so much experience on being on it in front of the camera, it was like 60 or 70 years, maybe 100 years of experience between all the actors, and how they elevated the production. And how Orlando Jones's character, Mr. Nancy, the way he embodied it and brought it to life, no nonsense, get it done, like what he said. And for them to destroy, for a third showrunner to come in and now want to, by what Orlando alluded to, make the character seem more coonish.
This is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's always, they teach you about white supremacy and white supremacists, and they say that they always want to keep you in a state of aggravation. We're watching the show. What did he say? Something about the new showrunner thought that it was going to be some kind of Denmark VC uprising amongst black people after seeing what was in the script that was proposed for this 3rd season. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Right?
So is that a cop-out?
Yeah, that's it's really... Umar Johnson.
Okay. Oh, excellent interview on the Breakfast Club.
Was on the Breakfast Club, right? He says that the reason that Cosby, besides trying to buy NBC, is the Cosbys purchased land, I believe in the Carolinas. And underneath the land, they found out that a company discovered that there's large deposits of oil and shale and all that, and they want the Cosbys to sell the land. And they said that he said possibly this could be. He was more leaning towards this is one of the reasons why he's in prison.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That there is oil underneath the land, and they won't sell the land, and they thought this would be a good way to get him out the way, so they would have to sell the land to try to get him out of prison.
So that would be the reason why they put prison Bill Cosby based on allegations with no proof.
With no proof.
Which is something unheard of. I mean, well, no, it's not really unheard of because that's history, right? American history.
Innocent,
black men and women going to jail for crimes that they did not commit.
They did not commit.
Such, I mean, people can look at Ava DuVernay's film on Netflix, When They See Us.
When They See Us.
Based on the, Central Park 5, but now the Exonerated 5.
The Exonerated
Correct?
5, that's right.
So, it's just crazy.
It's just crazy. All right, people. So that was the blurbs for today, for December 15th. And we got more to talk about. We got to talk about the new music review show that dropped today, December 15th. And we're going to talk about that after we go through this. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we are getting ready to interview. He's on the line, right? We're getting ready to interview Keith Lea, a.k.a. Nitty, right?
Yeah.
He was inspired early on by Spike Lee, She's Got to Have It, and Matty Rich's Straight Outta Brooklyn. Now, She's Got to Have It came out in 1986. We're talking about the original people, the one in black and white with Nola Gay, right? And we're talking about Matty Rich, Straight Outta Brooklyn, 1991. You know, Matty Rich was the one actually that Spike Lee had a disagreement with, because he said that Matty Rich said that you didn't really need to go to college, to film school, to learn how to do film. And that's what it was, right? He's a self-taught, he was self-taught initially, Keith Lea was. He read how-to books on script writing and filmmaking. He later went to San Francisco City College to take courses on filmmaking. We're talking about none other than Keith Lea, director of Greedy and much more. How you doing, Keith? Are you on the line?
Yes, sir. I'm here, my brother. I'm here.
All right.
Thank you. It's a blessing to be talking to both of you guys, and I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Okay, so there was a call that had come in, but you know, we're on our intro game, and we're talking to you, but 213-943-3358, make sure you stay on the line. We will answer your call. But right now, we're talking to Keith Lea about his experiences as an independent filmmaker, director, writer of film. Right? So how you doing this evening?
Hey, well, I'm feeling great now. I'm feeling great now that I'm talking to you guys.
All right. So let's go back a little bit. Let's get some context before we move forward and talk about your new ventures going on, right? So you're from, you were born and raised in Northern California, which would be Stockton, California. Am I right about that?
Yes, Stockton. Yes, Northern Cali.
Okay, so the film Greedy, which we're going to be reviewing tonight, it's set it's set in Sacramento, California, which is about 47 minutes away from Stockton, California. So we're going to go back to your youth and coming up into your teens. What was Stockton and Sacramento, California like when you were growing up?
Oh, wow. When I was a kid, it was lovely. It was a black community. I mean, we had the first black school teacher lived across the street from me on Washington Street. We have people that were becoming lawyers and basketball players. I mean, it was a thriving community of black people back in the day when I was growing up. I mean, it was just a happy place in Stockton. But like everybody else, times had changed later on, but it got difficult later on. But growing up here, Stockton was a lovely place to be at. That's for sure.
So when would you say, what age were you when the situation changed, and how similar is it to the Southern California experience in LA and Compton? Was that experience the same?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. We're kind of influenced by the Bay Area and influenced by the by Southern California. We have like both of their styles and kind of their culture here, because we're like in between. One highway just takes us to Frisco, and one highway takes us to Southern California. So we get a lot of their culture and mixed up with ours. Because when I was growing up, it was kind of like it was a happy place, but like everybody knows, things changed. And my dad's kind of like, he joined the Army for a few years to try to get away from here. But we did that move, and when we came back, it was like kind of like a change here because the drugs had kind of messed it up here for us and everything, and the gang violence and activity, it changed over because of drugs.
Uh-huh.
I mean, everybody knows about the crack and stuff like that because I was even influenced. I was an active Crip at the time. Wasn't thinking about anything else in the streets. I mean, we had a gang of people from LA moved down to Southern California, and that's how we got the Crips and Bloods down here in Northern California. Because some of them, when they get locked up, and they have to come to the penitentiary down here. But they get sent down to Tracy, and then a lot of that, so we get mixed up with a lot of different people back in the day. So when the drugs came, it put a dent in our community down here with the black people that did come from the South, the ones that came from Texas. Like my family came from Texas. My great-grandfather came here from Texas, and they came from Arkansas, and they built their own houses here at first. They were changing. It was a thriving community here. But we lost a lot out because of the crack era. And a lot of people that was becoming what they were supposed to become couldn't become that. So when the old elders got older, they had left their houses to them. In the crack era, they left their houses to them, so they ended up selling their house to the grandkids that they left the houses to because they didn't know to hold on to property. So we started losing a lot of property down here in Stockton, and a lot of family members started selling out here, and that's kind of like what happened here. It changed here a lot because of drugs, and that's how it kind of like, it kind of messed us up here.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people who had dreams. Yeah, they couldn't follow their dreams here. We're just now rebounding after years and years of that depression that went on, because you got a lot of kids that had grew up and their moms, because of the crack era, their moms was on drugs. So what happened with that, the kids was on drugs, and nobody knows why they're ended in gangs and violence. It's because their moms and kids, some of these kids were crack babies and all that stuff. So the violence kept on going around here, so it just kept going. But we tried to change it after a while. You know, it slowed down because after a while, everybody started, we changed because it wasn't really like killing going on. It was too many black people dying down here in Stockton. Mm-hmm. It was a lot. And a lot of people going to jail. And people kind of like figured it out. It's dying down now, just now dying down now. People kind of figuring it out that that's not the way out, and that's not the way to hustle, and the penitentiary is wrong for you. And it's just a lot of change. It's a lot of good change going on right now. But back in the day, it was all wrong because we was influenced by gang culture, especially gang culture here in Stockton. It was real bad. I mean, sometimes you couldn't even go outside to the store because you had the wrong color on or something, or you knew somebody was coming. But that was years ago. And then a lot of those were like, a lot of people that were leaders in those gangs went to the penitentiary, and so there's no way to give no more guidance to the young people to look up to. So right now, everybody's starting back over. We're trying to do non-profits now and stuff and get the kids not to go the direction that we was going, the ones that was left. So it's the best thing to do now is start with the youth right now, because they're the only ones that's coming up now. And it's a whole different ball game where we are. Now it's time to own your own business and get started. Even if you got to own a t-shirt shop, get that. It's better than being out there in the street and hustling and stuff. It's time to make changes right now. So over the years, it just kept going on, but we started making changes eventually after a while. I mean, because like Sacramento, we're kind of like Sacramento because they have the same culture ties too. They're just like the Bay, but we're not the Bay. We're the Valley, though. We're separated, but we still influence. We like the music. We got the whole culture of the Bay is here in Stockton. So it's like a gumbo here in Stockton right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like we don't have no. I mean, not like I would say it's a place for minorities. It really is. You can just come here and live. Stockton used to be a place for farming and agriculture. We're like the number one agricultural place here right now in Stockton. So we feed millions and millions of people. But right now, our rent went up right now because the Bay Area rent went up. So right now we're like the number one place whose rent increased in the United States. We went up like 20%. Because the houses were so cheap here and people didn't know it. Like when the bankruptcy came on, they had big old buses riding around Stockton showing the whole neighborhood that was empty, and people were living in abandoned houses. I mean, there were so many abandoned houses in Stockton. It was crazy.
So Stockton
now getting bad over there. But
so Stockton is like a victim of what was happening during the Nader when they were making sure that black people did not own property, and it's trying to reverse it back, like how the housing crisis happened, and President Obama was in office, and only the rich were able to recover, and black people continued to lose their houses, which in most cases are our economic backbone, is the property that we own, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So let's move. That is great information for people to know. Great knowledge on Stockton, California, San Francisco, because it's about maybe 50 minutes away, and then maybe San Francisco is about an hour away from Sacramento, and Sacramento being 47 minutes. So it's like a triangle situation. What's the music scene like? What was the music scene like back in the time when you first were interested in making film? I know as far as black market was concerned, they had Brother Lynch Hung, X-Rated, but did the hyphy movement from the Bay affect the way music was produced in Stockton, California?
Yeah, it was, because the hyphy movement had took over in the Bay. And it's Weather Valley, we couldn't actually use that because we get talked about because we said we're going hyphy, but we did the hyphy things. We wore the shirts, we had the hyphy train, but we didn't do the hyphy music here because that was the Bay Area thing. If you would have got on there talking about hype, and you from the Valley, then people would have got on your helmet out here and been like, yo, you're not original. You know, because that's not what we are. You can say the hyphy, but we wasn't doing not music. We're not musical. Nobody here, I can now like, because that was a whole Bay Area movement, but we were down with that movement because it was so big. It was so big that everybody felt it. It was like the hyphy movement was a good feeling for everybody. Everybody could dance and feel the music. It was a good time for that period. But we definitely got on. We used to have train cars riding through the whole Stockton, like 15, 16 cars riding through back to back when the hyphy movement was going on. People getting out, ghost riding the whip. It definitely affected us. We got that. Yeah, we caught that.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go to the sideshow in Oakland. So we leave from here and go down, people down here, go to the sideshow just to see the hyphy movement because it was big. Before Little John, they did their thing on that, even though it kind of came from Mac Dre, but they did their thing though. It affected us.
One of the artists that before we being that you're here, we need to get this information out to the people who are into music also. One of the artists that really, because we come from Cleveland, Ohio originally, and we owned a record store for 15 years, and one of the artists that really made an impact from Sacramento, from Sacktown, was Brother Lynch Hung and his horrorcore and his movie Now Eat. We talked about that during Halloween for people to see that. I see a lot of influence in there. So let's go on to the next question. Let's talk about independent filmmaking. Your interest in independent filmmaking, right? Through what was your experience like being an intern? First you went to the library, you picked up books, you read on how to do it, then you became an intern. What was for the up and coming filmmaker out there, what was your experience like being on Panther, directed by Mario Van Peebles, as an intern, and So I Married an Axe Murderer starring Mike Myers? What was your experience like, and what can you tell the people what you learned?
Oh, what I learned is you have to be consistent, you have to stay sharp, and you have to stay focused when you be on that, because you're working for free, but you're working on $1 million of sets and stuff, and you want to be able to move up. Because I worked for another film company called, they was making a movie called The Tenderloin. And for this lady on The Tenderloin, my first job when I got there, she was like, "Are you gonna give me some coffee?" And I was like, I'm not thinking. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go get you some coffee. Then she wrote it down on a piece of paper and told me it was some special coffee way on the other side of San Francisco. So I hurried up and got in my car, went and got it, came back quick and gave it to her quick. She was happy. So then they gave me just for that. Then that's when, because at first you're picking up paper when you're a PA. Then she gave me a walkie-talkie. So I had a walkie-talkie, but I kind of, when I was working on there, somebody, you have to stay focused, because I had a walkie-talkie on me, and there was a whole bunch of people in San Francisco, and a white guy walked up behind me, and I was doing traffic control. And he said, "Hey nigga, how you get this job?" I'm trying to stay focused. I just came from the streets. This is my first job. I'm knowing I could turn around and get on it. Then he said it again, "Hey nigga, how you get this job? You're not supposed to be working on a film set." So I just did that, got on my walkie-talkie, called the head of the PAs, and he came down and explained to the white guy what happened. He went off. He started yelling at the white dude, "You get up out of here. We don't be saying all that. You prejudice." He wanted to fight. The white dude wanted to beat up the other white dude because he felt disrespected by it too. So he sent him off. So you got to keep your composure too. And when I worked on the Mike Myers and the Panthers, you want to be able to try to read like the other people who work in there, the gaffers, the bridge. If you can, watch the director. And sometimes listen, if they give you a position in a job, pick up paper or move equipment. Sometimes there might be some cords on the ground or something, or an Apple box, and you hear somebody over there talking about they need the Apple box, but they didn't ask you to get it. Go over here and get it and give it to them, and they'll think that you already knew, but they think that you're perfect though, because you'll be giving them the things that they need because you're trying to move up. Like when I was doing the PA position, they hired me to go work on a commercial just because I worked hard and was fast and good for them on Mike Myers, so I ended up getting to go work on a commercial from that. So when you're working on $1 million sets, you got to just show up, try to be early for sure, and make sure you stay focused, because you're trying to move up from a PA position, and if you're trying to be the director, then if you're the PA, then try to watch the director. Because I got hired on MC Hammer videos, Pumps and Bump. I worked on Pumps and Bump 1 and 2 in San Francisco. Well, not actually, he had a house outside of San Francisco, but more like towards the valley. And we worked on that because my friend named Marty Jones, he was working in LA at the time, but he would come down to the Bay Area and he would hire black people to work on sets because he was working for Underdog Films at the time, and I was in a group in the Bay Area, and they was called Brotherhood, and I was only like 22, 21 then, and I was the youngest one in the group, and what the group was about, it was about 10 filmmakers from the whole Bay Area who were in the union, and there was only 10 people in the whole Bay Area that was in the union, so we couldn't get jobs in San Francisco, the Bay Area, so they would come down from LA, come to the meeting and tell us, "Hey, this is coming up, and this is coming up if you brothers want to try to work on it and stuff," because they was connected with the Oakland film commissioner named Jeannie Ruckett, the black lady named Jeannie Ruckett at the time. She used to be the Oakland film commissioner and stuff, and then that's how the Panthers got to Oakland, and they make the movie here with Mario Van Peebles. And you have to try to work hard and listen to people and learn about the connections, because you have to know where you want to go in life. If you're really trying to do this, you really got to watch, because it's levels to this, and it's not just where you want to be at, because I'm pretty sure everybody's dream is probably to write, direct, have their own movie out, but you have to watch people too to learn, to be able to watch. The guerrilla filmmaking is a lot better to me when you're hands-on out there. But yeah, that's how I got to work on the PA, though. I was watching hard because I wanted to be a director myself, and I couldn't. I didn't have the equipment. At the time, they were filming in 16 millimeters. You had to buy film. I couldn't afford film. All I knew how to do was slice and edit on a Super 8. I could slice and edit a 16, but I didn't have the money to go out there and give me a Niagara recorder or anything that I needed, because when I was in class in San Francisco, I was the only black person in class. There wasn't any other people up in class with me. And that was kind of weird to me, since I was the only one at that time. I was telling everybody, I'm going to make a movie. But we were still in class, though. But I was going out on my way in San Francisco trying to meet different people, and they had hooked me up with a guy named Armand Garrett in San Francisco. And he hooked me up with a guy named Otis Best, so we met Otis Best. And from Otis Best, they hooked me up with Marty Jones, and right now Marty Jones, he's head of a film company in Austin, Texas right now. He's the same one who did Underdog Films for me about 20 years ago. He hired videos. He did a lot of videos for Tupac. He did a lot of videos for a lot of people with Marty Jones. Yeah. He was the one that was instrumental to getting the jobs in the Bay Area. So you have to get in connections just to even be a PA after a while. People have to know that you're a good person and you're going to work, because you're going to work from night to day. You're definitely going to be working. And if you want to do craft services, then watch the craft service person. They even get paid a lot of money. I mean, we had a shoot and they was paying us, we were getting paid like $150 a day for doing PA. But it all turned out fine, though. But I wish back then that I would have been directing back then, but it didn't happen until 10 years later after that.
Yeah, but this right here is invaluable information. Yeah. Like, you're telling them that they have to be on time, which is if you're on time, you're late. That means you got to be early. Early is on time. That's real good information. And talking about what a PA does, the production assistant running around, going all the way over to the other side of the valley, coming back, bringing what the people want, being willing to go pick up the stuff on set that someone says, I need that apple box. No one else is moving to it. And that's exactly what they teach you. Yeah. And you got when you're on set, and that's how you advance up. So, so let's shift gears now. So you moved out of being a intern on a set. You advanced up, and then you began to advance to get your own equipment to shoot. What was it? And you started writing scripts. What is it like shopping or pitching scripts in Hollywood for the young filmmaker?
So I never pitched, but shopping your script around without an agent or a manager, you have to become that yourself. Mm-hmm. Because I moved to Hollywood. I lived in Hollywood for 2 years just to learn that machine. It's a machine, and it's a real game. And you can't go there thinking that you're going to win off the back, because Hollywood will eat you up and spit you out. It does it to everybody every day. So you have to have your game plan before you even get to Hollywood to live. You have to write down your goals, what you're going to do. Then you have to have a list of contacts, who you're going to hit, who you're going to go talk to. Just don't go there blind. Don't go to Hollywood blindfolded and thinking that, oh, I'm just going to show up and go here and they're going to accept me. No, you have to have, what I had was targets. I had different people that I was going to go see. I wanted to go talk to, at the time when I went, I just finished the movie Greedy when I had moved out there. So I had something to carry with me. Mm-hmm. I had a product. It wasn't like I was just out there. But what I had to do, nobody knows you. You got a product, but nobody knows you. And all of the offices and stuff, they don't have the names on it. They're not going to say this is the agent office or this is this office. So what I did was I was walking around reading the books, and they have books in 7-Eleven that tell you can buy a book in 7-Eleven, tells you all the companies, all the agents, all of that stuff, and production companies. And I think at the time they had one on, what is that? At the time I was on Hollywood Boulevard, and I was talking to some guy. He said, "Yeah, Robbie Reed's office is right there. It's the casting agent." And I was like, "Robbie Reed? What do you mean, Robbie Reed?" So I went in there, and I was talking. I was like, "Yeah, I lied." I said, "Yeah, I'm supposed to be here to talk to Robbie Reed, somebody." And they were like, "Okay, hold on." And another guy came out. He was like, "What are you here for?" And I was like, "I'm supposed to give them my movie." And he was like, "Okay, I'm a manager." So he said, "All right, come to the office, talk to me." And I explained to him what I was there for. So the guy named was Anthony Short. He had picked me up. From there, Anthony Short, he wanted to be my manager. He was in the same thing with office with Robbie Reed. She had did Soul Food and she did a lot of casting for a lot of black movies. Robbie Reed. She did, and I just ended up in her office, and there was a manager in her office. So that's how I got connected. Started learning about how Hollywood worked. And at the time, I wrote another movie script, and the guy Anthony Short was my manager. He was trying to shop it around and stuff, but you have to have tough nerves, and you have to be able to read people too, because sometimes people will want to pick you up, and they're not good for you to be a manager. They just want to pick you up to have to say they have you while they're trying to do other things. So constantly looking around and shopping. And what happened was, I was sneaking into buildings. I would go and dress up like as if I was a male person. I put on a white t-shirt and a hat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dropping off a package. You have to have a packet too when you're in Hollywood. You have to have your poster, your movie, and your bio. You have to have like 5 different things in this packet that you're dropping off. You just can't drop your movie off like that. It has to be in a packet. And in that package, you need your bio, you need a cover sheet, you need your movie in it, and that's what you drop off. So I was dropping it off at different places, and I dropped it off at one place, and the guy had told me that, hey, they're having a thing at USC. You should go here. And it's a panel, and they're gonna be talking, and they have the Hollywood Black Film Festival lady's gonna be there, Tanya Kersey, and such and such. So I went to that. I met Tanya Kersey at the Hollywood Black Film Festival. I told her what was going on. I told her I had a movie, Greedy, and she told me, well, why won't I send that movie into them? And then I sent the movie out after meeting her and stuff, and I was on a panel at the San Francisco for the Pan African American Film Festival. I ended up being on a panel at the Pan African American Film Festival, and then from there, I got the hit after I met Tanya Kersey and sent it in for the Hollywood Black Film Festival. They accepted it, so I got accepted to the Hollywood Black Film Festival. And from there, I met another guy. I met a guy named Jock Telefero, and he was at the film festival at San Francisco. But I knew Jock from years before that from being an intern in PA and working in San Francisco. But this time, Jock has moved up, and Jock is a part of a group that's putting on the Cannes Film Festival now. So Jock tells me that he's working for the group and he's going to be with the Cannes Film Festival, and do I want to try to come to the Cannes Film Festival and see if my movie gets accepted for that? He can try to help me get in. So I gave it to Jock, and we all in LA, and Jock turned around and got into being the Cannes Film Festival, a part of it that was for the African diaspora. So they had that just for like independent filmmakers. But it was a part of the film festival, and it was on the beach, and Danny Glover was there, and Winfield. There was a lot of black people that was there. They were trying to help independents. But this is before online, so we out there like we're not really used to what's going on. We're seeing all of these rich people and all of that, and we're trying to figure out our way. Like we just got thrown into something bigger than what we even was ready for. We didn't even. My guy that was running the stuff that I made the movie for, he didn't make no flyers, no cards, no nothing, because when you at the Cannes Film Festival, you have to hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody try to card to somebody, because you don't know who is who. The person in the bathroom in the stall might be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody's walking around, and you have a lot of people that want to buy films and all that stuff. And it was, so I got an award with Danny Glover on the beach when I was out there. We was out there for like about 10 days in Cannes. It was a great experience, because you got to see how movies with money really work, because their billboards that they had there was like 2-3 stories tall for their movies and stuff. And then they had actors that was out there that was looking like the real actors in the movie, and they was playing out the parts, and they had all this stuff going on just for their movies. So you can see they had Alicia Keys playing on a yacht out there. You could have went and did that. They had all of these different things, and this was I went like 15 years ago to Cannes Film Festival, and our movie played out there. It played for you know, the Europeans, the Africans, and all of that, and. But we had made, you have to remember at this time, the movie we had made, we made it with DV. We shot on DV. Mm-hmm. But the story was good, kind of sort of accepted it, but we shot on DV. So at this time, there's really just trying to get a distribution deal for real instead of the way it is now. You're trying to get a distribution deal. And Black Market, the head of Black Market said the same to he didn't want to take none of those deals. Because when I was over there, I met, you heard of Maverick Films?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Doug Schwab? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I met Doug Schwab over there in Europe. They told me to call him when we got back from France. So I called Doug Schwab when we get back, and I don't really know who he is. And he tells me to meet him in Santa Barbara and all. And so I go to Santa Barbara, we meet at this hotel, and he brings out this big old notebook. And he opened the book, and people. It's all movies, black people, Asians, the Mexicans, all independent movies. And he asked me the question about the movie because he was trying to buy our movie that we had made, Greedy. He wanted to make a deal with Greedy and make a deal with the soundtrack. So we had E40, Lynch, we had all the big time people on that soundtrack, so he wanted the soundtrack too. So we in Santa Barbara, and Doug Schwab, he looks at me and says, "You see all these movies right here, what do you think about them?" I said, man, it looks like you got a good catalog to me. He's like, "No, I own all of them." I said, "You own all of them?" He said, "Yeah, we don't give percentage. We don't give points. I buy movies at 20,000 and 30,000. I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, we're offering you guys 70,000. With no back points and no percentage. No, but we give you the highest one right now and give you 70,000. So I can't take nothing because it's not my movie. I'm just a writer and director. So I pulled Cedric Singleton in, the head of Black Market. He don't take the deal because he knows that the internet is going to be coming. So he's not going to just take the upfront money. Because right now, the whole industry is in limbo. Nobody knows what they're going to be doing right now because the internet is happening. Everybody's getting ripped off. Everybody's scared of Napster and everything that's going on at this time. But a lot of people sold their souls and sold their movies and don't get no percentage. So it's like Maverick Films. I mean, they cool, but they're back points.
See, now this is information that you're putting out there for the people. That's just experiences and being able to put it across. Yeah. So Cedric Singleton, CEO of Black Market Records, has such acts as 187, Big Lurch, Brother Lynch Hung, Hbo'S, X-Rated, Triple Beam, etc. What was that pitch like when you went to him to say you had come back from Hollywood and you met with him and you sat down, you said, "I want to tell this semi-autobiographical story of my life." What was that pitch like and what made him accept the story that you were telling?
Oh, what happened was Sid, I was in San Francisco still, and it was like how I got into filmmaking because the band of filmmaking come out. I've been shot twice. My brother had got killed. And that's why I was tired of Stockton and tired of the streets and stuff. And that's how I seen Matty Rich. I had already knew about Spike Lee back in the day about being a filmmaker, but I seen Matty Rich on TV, and he said how it could be done. He was trying to raise $100,000 himself. That's when I really knew that it could be done. It clicked with me because I wanted to do it when Spike Lee had did it. But I didn't know how Spike Lee had did it because we had seen She's Gotta Have It in it, and we were amazed by that. I think She's Gotta Have It in Germany, and was amazed by that. So after a while, I did all that stuff in San Francisco, and I came back to Stockton. And at this time, there's no movie theater here. There's nothing here. It's like a dark place in Stockton at this time. I mean, gangbang was active live here. And what happened was with Cedric, I had been listening to Black Market Records. I love Black Market Records. I never even imagined that I'd make a movie for them. I wasn't never thought that in years because I was in the streets and stopped the streets and went to pick PA in and picking up paper and doing all that to come back to work for the company that I had liked before because of all the people that he had. Because he had Lynch, so everybody loved it, and it was Northern Cali. So I came back to Stockton and said Black Market, they were doing a tour, but they did the tour on the east side of Stockton, and that's my neighborhood on the east side of Stockton. When people shouldn't have did it downtown because if you do something in the neighborhood, the other neighborhoods can't come to it, and he didn't know that. But somebody had gave him the wrong information, and they were doing it at my gym on the east side of Stockton. They were doing it at the gym, so the only people that could really come was like my neighborhood, the hood. So we hear that he's doing it. We didn't believe that he was going to be at the gym anyway, that they really going to be at the gym performing and stuff. So we go there, and he was there. Yeah, so I started I singing, and I talked to this other guy, and he was telling me, yeah, that's the head right there. He's the owner of Black Market. But, you know, if you want to talk to him, that's who you going to talk to. So I went to Sid, and I was like, what's up, Sid? And my name is Keith, you know. I make movies. I'm a filmmaker, but I hadn't had any movies at the time. I just films that I had made and stuff, but nothing of my own. But I told him I could make movies and what I could do. And I asked him, why didn't Black Market Records have a movie? You guys need a movie. You got to go forward. And I was like, that's the new thing. Let's make it happen. But he looked at me and said, all right, and gave me his phone number, told me to call him the next day. So I called him the next day, and he told me to come to Sacramento to Tower Inn Road. And I go to Tower Inn Road, and it's Black Market Records. They got posters everywhere. I'm in the company now. You know, so I'm down there talking, and I'm downstairs, and Sid's upstairs, and all these people walk around, posters and CDs and Lynch posters everywhere, the vibe and the music. It was live. I'd never been in a record company before and seen how it was running. But they was running it right. He was doing everything independent. He had fans, he had his own band, 4, 5, 6 fans. He had everything independent. They talk about Master P, and they talk about all these other people, but they never mentioned Cedric Singleton's hustle. Because he was one of the greatest $1 million independent hustlers there is at this game. And so I meet him, and I'm telling him about, you know, I want to make a movie and stuff, because Greedy is actually a story that me and one of the artists that was on the label by the name of Chopper came up with. Because Sid had said that I was supposed to make another movie for Sid, and I was supposed to be getting clearance on X-Rated. First, I was supposed to be doing a documentary on X-Rated, and I was trying to uncall all the penitentiaries, but they wouldn't let us film in here, so I told Sid, let's just make the movie then. So he said, okay, he wanted to make one for his artist by the name of Chopper. So I go talk to artist Chopper and get something down and write the stuff down, and I'll come back with the movie script and we'll make the movie. So I went to talk to him, and he had a title of his album and stuff and some other things, and we went from there. So he gave me some feedback on what he wanted to do. I pushed it in what I should go on, and so I would drive back and forth all the time from Stockton to Sacramento, and we hashed the story out and get it right. And I'd take his ideas and put them down for mine. We hashed the whole story out over a few months. So I come back, but I have to come back and dialogue and put it in format and put everything that's down in structure, because it's just ideas at the time. So I do that, and I put it back, take it back to Sid, and I write the movie script, and Sid reads it, and Sid likes it. But a part that I didn't write was the part with the women in there. See, that's Cedric Singleton sitting down with the 2 women in the background.
Okay.
That part, he wanted to have that in there of him. He wanted to be in the movie. So that's him, of the CEO of Black Market Records. That's him sitting down with the 2 women. There was some strippers that he paid $500 each.
Oh, okay.
And some film festivals wouldn't let me in because of that scene, like in Atlanta, they was tripping, but now they letting everything in. But at that time they wouldn't. But we did a lot of film festivals, but I was still couldn't get in none of them.
So what was that like doing the independent? It took 2.5 years to finish the film. Tell the independent filmmakers that are coming out so that they won't get discouraged if their films take a while to get done. Tell them what the start and stop and situation like that was making a film, making Greedy.
Yeah. I mean, he was giving me, for Greedy, at that time, for some reason, he said the budget was $150,000 or $100,000, but to me, I seen all the equipment and all that stuff, but I don't know. He spent a lot of money on vans. We had vans, and they were giving me like $10,000 checks, and I was going to take that to different people and stuff, and I didn't run off with none of the money, but he stopped because something was going on. He wouldn't even tell nobody. He would stop, and we would stop for like 3 or 4 months at a time. It took 2 years to finish Greedy, and when you have to remember that this is not an overnight game. It's called the wait and go game. The entertainment is the wait and go game, because you want it to go. Sometimes it's go. Sometimes it's go, 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 go. Stop, 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 stop. Go, stop, go, stop, go, 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 go. It's the wait and go game, people call it. And you have to, in that time, you have to remember you have downtime, and you have more time than you have money. So when you have downtime, you have to still remember to stay focused and keep the money you have. So you got to go to the gym, but always know that you're going to be able to be shooting and filming again, and you want to be able to have them scenes and everything and going over them. So when you do time to film, you on point. So in your downtime, you should be going over your script, going over in your head, thinking about the moves, the shots that you want to do when it's coming up, because now you have time. Don't think of it as you don't have no time and, oh, I gotta wait. No, you think of perfecting it even tighter now. Come up with other shots, come up with other moves. Make sure if you want to change your dialogue, but remember that you're going to be filming again, because it's definitely the way you go, game, and it can discourage you. It discourages everybody, because everybody wants it so bad, and that's not how it works. When you go to your independent movie set, sometimes you think that you want to go this way. It's not going to go the way you want to go when you show up. Somebody might have forgot a battery, a cord, to say the line wrong, or they're not feeling good, because you have to be a psychiatrist too when you're on set, because everybody has different moves and different swings, and everybody's different, and you manage that, and you have to be in control when you come back. You always have to be in control, because if you lose control, everybody else knows you lost control, and you lost control of the whole thing. So you have to stay focused, because you have that downtime when you're filming. Definitely have downtime.
So, I can't believe that an hour has passed already, right? And we have 8 minutes left with you before we go in and review the film. It's amazing, great information that you're putting out. I want to also tell people that this man right here, in my estimation, in my opinion, is a hustler.
Yeah.
Okay? He's not a hustler, Hussle, like hustle doing the dance. He's a hustler, Hustle, hustler, because he is right now broadcasting at the same time we're broadcasting on Facebook. He's got his camera set up, catching it. That's one. Yeah. Two, he knows how to cross market.
Yes.
And for those who don't know what cross marketing is, I'm not gonna tell you. You're just gonna have to go back and look on the Facebook page and the Instagram pages and the Twitter pages, and look at how he did this leading up to his appearance on the show, and you will understand what cross marketing is. So I commend you for that, my brother, because a lot of people don't know about cross marketing. That's how I know that you are a hustler in this game called filmmaking, right? Yeah. So let's fast forward, because we only got 7 minutes now before we go in and review your film and head into the rest of the show. So let's talk about Amazon and your new piece, The West Coast, and American with the triple K, American Dream, where you were drawn down upon by Stockton police while shooting a scene. So let's run through that real quick. You're setting up the scene. You got the permission from the bodega, from the convenience store to do it. They actually came out and co-signed you, which was very important. I guess that has to do with building relationships. But let's run through that. Let's talk about first what the West Coast, an American Dream is about. It's on Amazon when it debuts. Then just give a little bit of the setup of what happened and where they can see that video.
Yes, it's a scene where that thing actually, a little girl was getting we were doing a drive-by scene, and a little girl was getting shot, because it's we're going to stop the violence, put the guns down in this one, and have a positive attitude. And we were filming that scene for the show that we're doing right now. We're shooting the first one like a movie, but it's going to be a series that they can watch. And what happened was we're filming, and we say action, and when we say action, the police took action. They were standing behind us already when I said action. Right when I said action, they took action. So they knew who we were already. And there was no sirens, there was nothing around. And people don't know, I had already went and tried to hire the police to be on set at $50. Because the movie Greedy, I hired police to be on set. We shot the gun in the movie. I had the police be in set. So I couldn't even have the police on set here in Stockton. So I tried that to have them on set. And that's when they took action. They pulled their guns out, had beams on the kids, And I knew that they had to take time because we're people from the streets. We know about the police, and we know what guns you guys carry. And these guns were guns that you can't carry in your car. It was artillery with infrared, which means that they called in, grouped in, and told the people, and they have to take these guns out of lockers and get permission and do what they have to do to bring these type of weapons, because these are military-style weapons that you're pulling out. And my mom there yelling, everybody there yelling. I mean, it's not. Then I came back, tried to talk to my district, the district leader. She wouldn't call me back, so I went and talked to the event coordinator, because we don't have a film commissioner. You can't buy permits here. There's nothing. It's like the Wild Wild West here to film, and I'm trying to change all that. I told him I'm gonna be the commissioner. So the next thing I'm working on is being the film commissioner of Stockton.
Okay.
Because we need that here, because we need permits so that nobody else will get shot. Yeah. Because they stopped me again when I was filming. I was filming a police scene where the police are checking for guns, and they pull up on the actors and they're asking them for guns, but the police pull up on us again. But they let us go and told us that we're filming in a parking lot of a school, so we can't film in the parking lot of the school. We have to be on the street. So now we can't be on private. We can be on private property, not government property, not state property. They have all these different properties. So we need to have some rules and regulations for us here to know, because who wants to get shot by the police? Mm-hmm. And they're showing up, and they're very aggressive. And like at the end of that video, you can hear him saying, "Why didn't you guys call in? Why didn't you guys call in? You can't even call in here. That's not even true. You can't call the police and say, hey, I'm shooting a movie. Would you come watch me?" That doesn't work. He was just trying to protect himself because he didn't have anything else to say about why they were there when they shouldn't have been there, because they were so far away. They could have blew the horn on us and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing? We see you." But no, they drew down on us, and that's why we had lawyers calling us and a lot of different things, and news people, because the way the police right now, they're very, very, very violent right now, and you don't know who to trust with them. Like,
but it was very important, because police are violent these days. It's not the same as you would see in the movies where you can negotiate, but you actually were able to negotiate that. So that was a blessing for one thing, your ability to have the camera on to catch it was ingenious also. So within 2 minutes here, because we have exactly 2 minutes, give us the synopsis of the West Coast, An American Dream, and where they can see it, what date it's going to premiere on Amazon.
The West Coast, An American Dream is TV show based out of Stockton, California, and we're going to be premiering. We're going to have to premiere probably in February at the Bob Hope Theater in Stockton, and we're trying to get another theater at UOP, so we'll be there. But it's about reality and what's going on right now. We did something that was way different. We wanted to stick to the times what's going on, to the immigration hold, to the gun violence, to people trying to make it out, but we kept it to where it's about putting your best foot forward, stop the violence, and I really don't want to get I don't want to get a story away. I just want people to watch it, so I'm not telling the story, but it's about the immigration hold, stop the violence, put the gun down, change your life, and inspiration, and trying to become somebody.
So each episode... So each episode is an individual standalone. Each episode is an individual standalone episode, or is it a continuous story for 13 episodes, so to speak?
It's a 6-part episode. We'll be shooting 6 parts. It's 6 parts. So we just finished this first one, and it's getting edited right now. It'll be done in about 2 weeks. So we'll be done with that one, and then we'll start probably in January on the 2nd episode. And it's a 6-part episode, but if anybody out there listening, if you know somebody at BET, Showtime, what's the other one? BET Plus, which one? Any one of them that wants to do a production deal, I'm with production deal.
Okay, well, we would like to thank you, Keith, because the information that you gave today will help independent filmmakers, and if they want to get in contact with you, where do they reach out to you? Actors, other film crews that might want to join with you in case you come into different places, how do they get in contact with you?
You can go to Instagram, Keith Lea Movies, Twitter, Keith Lea Movies, Facebook, Keith Lea Movies, LinkedIn, Keith Lea Movies, and my last name is Lee, not Lea. It's KEITHLEA Movies. So Lee is still my last name. It's pronounced Leah, but it's like Spike Lee.
Right.
It's like Spike Lee.
Okay, so we like to thank you and we appreciate you, man, and everything that you did leading up to the Go ahead.
Lea, that's my last name.
I know it's Lee, but it's Lea. We got you.
Yeah.
Lea.
So we like to thank you for calling up, man, and much success to you. We can't wait to see the series, and stay tuned right after we get off the phone with you to listen to the review.
Right.
You're going to be very happy with this review.
Yeah, great film. Great film.
Thank you.
Are we telling too much? Are we telling too much already? All right. So have a great evening, and we will speak again.
Okay, thank you, and bless both of you. It's definitely a pleasure working with you. And I want to say that you two being black people and being married is a blessing. And what you guys are doing is a gift for all of us, because we don't have a place to be able to speak our minds or tell anything. So what you guys are doing is a real blessing, and I wish God give you more blessings in 2020. And you guys keep going. Much success. Much success.
Thank you.
Thank
you as well.
God bless you as well.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, people. So that was Keith Lea, right?
Yep.
And he is an independent filmmaker from out of Stockton, California,
Yes.
Northern California. And the information that he gave, like we said before, I cannot reiterate it enough, is great information for independent filmmakers. Listen to it. He gave some of the game about distribution. He gave some of the game about being on set. He gave the game being on set of major multi-million-dollar films.
Right.
He gave information on being on independent sets and not being discouraged if your film doesn't come out when you think it should come out. Right? So now, let's talk about Greedy.
Yes.
Right? Greedy. Right? He sent us the DVD out, and we showed you that last week. Right? Greedy. Let me change the front here so that you can see what we're talking about here, because we make sure that our people are seeing her, recognized, and appreciated. Right? So let me bring this up real quick. So this is the cover of Greedy, right? There it is, Greedy, right?
Yeah.
So Greedy came out in 2005, right? And it never ceases to amaze me at looking at the dress code, how the dress code has changed. It's similar, but it's different, and that means that this film not only is a masterpiece of about criminal activity situations that happen, but it is also a historic piece. It's like watching a film from back in the 20s by Oscar Micheaux, where you see Booker T. Washington up on the wall, and you see this is during the time when this is actually happening. So this snapshot of time shows the baggy clothes, the sagging of the jeans, right, where it has changed now and it's a little bit tighter. It's kind of going, now it's back into the 60s with the tighter pants and, you know, still some sagging, and the dress code, baseball cap still the same, but it's slightly different. So it's a historic piece, right? So let's go through first and say that Chopper plays Tay.
Right.
Cedric Singleton is Big Mike.
Right.
Celia Kane
plays
Boo. Right. Now on the, as we were researching it, you know, we went through, and there are multiple actors in it, but those are the ones that we pulled out to talk about.
And Andre Henley.
Right. Right. Greedy introduces you to Tay, a man who's been in trouble with the law. in the ghettos that white supremacy places black men in, where he has to avenge a murder of a loved one.
Yes.
And it continues, and it has to put him into the prison industrial complex. He gets out of prison and finds his ace still in his corner, but his road dogs have fallen on hard times to the point of murder.
Yeah.
This is where the film kicks off.
Yeah.
Let me say, first of all, that Tay as a character is a strong black man archetype.
Yeah.
Right? And we talk about strong black man archetypes from the Blaxploitation films. Right? Because like Fred Williamson said, we're going to walk off into the sunset and we're not going to lose. So automatically we're sitting up and we're watching the film and we're sitting there and we're looking at it and we're saying, look at all these different setups. I mean, it's twists and turns in this film, right? It's very interesting. It's not boring. And you're sitting up there and you're watching it and you're like, what's going on here, right? So that's one of the things about the film that stands out, right?
Yeah. What also stands out to me
Okay.
is I love the relationship between Tay and his girlfriend, as well as his relationship with his daughter, his mother, and his friends as well. You know, although there is a twist, which is what makes the film great. And when the film begins, it kicks off and takes you on a ride. There isn't one dull moment, right? So, but I love the sense of like community also, you know, so. Because
he always found the character Tay, always found if they were characters that were up to some kind of game or some kind of hustle, he still found people who he could deal with to make a positive outcome for himself. And that's how, if you actually are involved in the public, that's the only way I can compare it to is the Black Ice Chronicles series, which talks about the Crazy D character being in 15 years of retail and then dealing with the different cast of characters that come in. Some may be on the grind, some may be on a hustle, some may be schemers, but at the same time he's able as a character to come out and prevail. And that's what I liked about this movie with the Tay character, right? Choppa is a real good actor. He acted this piece, right? The Boo character, you know, the Cecilia, I thought that she was a great actor. She really brought that home about the relationship and wanting him to be around, and it was really interesting. And the shock and the twist of it happening, and the realism of it is that sometimes situations are not solved, but the person has to keep going on, and it wasn't you can speculate and say who you thought it was, but in actuality some things aren't settled. We found that in real life out here, right? And so that's what makes the film good. Now it's 2005. 2005 is the transition from analog to digital, and he talked about digital video, DV, and moving over. In digital video, you could do things with sound that you can't do with digital. So everyone was cramming and searching. Like I was putting out DVDs then, and we were searching for the perfect sound. It was like searching for the perfect beat. Back when hip hop first started, it was like searching for the perfect beat. You're searching for the perfect sound, and getting the sound down, and things that could pass on VHS or on cassette sound wise, because there's a hiss running through there, cannot translate on digital. But the story, so there's certain scenes in it where if it was on a VHS tape, you wouldn't hear the sounds that you hear, but because it's on a DVD, then you hear these sounds. But the narrative is so good
Right.
that if you can't hear like the conversation, the images
Right.
tell the story, and that's what film is. When
Yeah.
you edit, film was silent.
Right.
So the images still tell the story. That's what makes it a great film.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone should see this film.
Yeah. you should.
Right? Because it's not only it's a snapshot,
Right.
and I can see elements of the Sacramento and Stockton, California influence. I can
Yeah.
see when we talk to Nick Leisure.
Right.
He's from Sacktown, right? And he has that movie with Mario Van Peebles, right? We talked to him, and I can see the elements of the influence of the area,
Yeah.
the culture
Yeah.
is in the film, and that's what
Yeah.
makes this a great piece for
Yes.
people to watch.
Yep.
And getting the additional information from Keith Lea tonight,
Yes.
even bolsters even more the rating that I'm going to give the film, right?
Yeah.
So what would you rate Greedy, which is a crime, Sacktown, California crime
Right.
drama? What would you
Well,
rate
you
it?
know that I'm going to give it a 10 because, as you know, I love like crime films, like
Mhm.
with suspense, because there's also like a twist and suspense in
It's
the
kind of
film
like a
as
film
well.
noir,
Right.
Except for it's not shot low key,
Right.
It's shot regular lighting, right? The
Right.
lighting is good on it,
Yeah.
but it's not shot low key, so it's not film noir. But yet the storytelling on
Right.
it is gangster
Right.
tales. There's
Exactly.
women in it.
Yeah.
There's twists.
And that's
there's
what I love
betrayal.
about it.
There's
All of that. Just like in like the films like with American Gangster, like in Godfather
Mhm.
and Scarface. And so I love those type films, and that's what this film is. So
Mhm.
I would definitely give it a 10, and especially like for the acting, because I was like pulled in, like I was invested in the actors, because when the movie ended, we were like, we want to see more. What happened?
So
Right.
you do want to see a sequel,
Right.
And hopefully there can be a sequel
Yeah,
to this. It doesn't matter how many years later it has
Right.
to tell. People change over time.
Right.
They don't look exactly the same, but
Right.
there could be a sequel to this because
Right.
the acting
Right.
was that good, and to see what happens to some of the characters that were treacherous, what
Yes.
happens to him
Yes.
as a father,
Yeah.
and what happened to his mother, and so
All of that, and
Yeah, all of
the
it.
soundtrack too. So
Yeah,
and
the
also
soundtrack
because
was
of the soundtrack,
Mhm.
because of we said costume and and the design, the clothing. Like actually, those hairstyles, like the women's, I still see them today.
They're
like
still
to,
in.
to the
They're still
right.
in.
So
That's what I'm saying. Certain things are still in.
Right.
It's slightly different. Like
Yeah.
back then it was fitted. Now they went back to the snap.
Right.
Back then we wouldn't be caught in snap caps.
Right.
But now they went back to the snaps,
Right.
and soon it will shift back, and the fitted will be back in. Some people
Yeah.
still wear fitted.
Right.
So what would you rate the film?
like a 10,
Okay.
definitely.
So for me, I would say the through line of the story.
Right.
Right. I'm big on through line of the story, and the story is about a young man that is trying to succeed,
Yes.
and he is put into a situation. It's a hero's journey
Yeah,
story.
it is.
It's
And the writing
really-
is good.
Yeah, it's really a hero's journey story where you
Right.
start out, you see the person,
Yeah.
he goes down, and then when he comes back out,
Right.
then he starts to build, and then he's introduced to the people who will be friend and
Right.
foe. He goes through certain situations, and then
Yeah.
in the end, well,
Yeah.
you have to see the film,
You have to see
right?
the film.
It's
Good
worth
film.
seeing.
It is worth seeing.
You know what I mean? And so I give it a 10. I
Yeah.
give the through line a 10.
Yes.
I give the cinematography on it. I
Yes.
give it a 10 because there are angles there,
Yeah.
and there is special effects in this film that
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect to see. I mean, when you see certain types of matter fly around, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
That is some real. That's real.
Yeah.
It's real, okay? And
Yeah.
then of course having the strong black Man
Yeah.
archetype that
Yeah.
is a throwback to the 70s
Yeah.
movies where he's able to ride off in the sunset. That's a salute. That's a
Yeah.
10.
And this is
So-
someone, he cares about his community.
Yeah.
And even though his friends, even though they may not be ideal friends,
Mhm.
but he is loyal to his friends.
They do come through.
Yeah.
in a way.
Well, some of them do. So you definitely have to see this film, and we don't want to give anything away because you definitely have to see it, and you will not be disappointed at all.
You will not be disappointed at all. You have to
No.
see this film, right?
Right.
And you know, as it goes and it gains popularity again,
Yes.
there can be remastering
Yeah.
of the film. There can be remastering of the film.
We just talked about that. We saw a movie a couple of nights ago starring with Lola Falana called
Yes.
Coco.
Lady Coco.
Yes, and we said, I was like, don't you think this film needs to be remastered? Because this is a great film. And
Yeah.
this was like, I didn't even know this film existed, right?
Yeah. You know,
So-
it's funny because Lady Coco, as we're moving, veering off a little bit, but Lady Coco, its pacing is different. It is a definitely 1970s pacing.
Right.
The opening sequence, you actually feel like you drove all this way to Tahoe, to Tahoe, Nevada,
Right.
and was at this place, right?
Right.
At this casino, right? And it
Right.
feels like you really took that long drive.
Right.
But I don't know if that was what they intended or they were just trying to stretch time. But then the storyline, because Lola Falana was an incredible actor.
Yeah, she was.
She really brought that home.
Yeah.
Also, another film to see is this one right here, Fumes of Fury. That's another Keith Lea film that
Okay.
you can see on Amazon. We wanted to put that up. I didn't get a chance to talk to him about that to make sure I'm putting everything in now.
Okay. We have
Now,
to definitely check that one out.
Yeah,
because
check that one out.
Greedy is good.
Greedy is good.
And it's definitely a classic.
Definitely a classic.
Yeah.
Let's run through some things that Crazy D is involved in real quick. You know, if you haven't seen the Canton Jones video, So Glad I'm Saved,
Yeah.
we shot the Las Vegas portion and then Dropboxed it to Las Vegas. To Atlanta for
Right.
Canton Jones to edit in the
Right.
B Tims, because B Tims plays the vocoder on there, closest to Roger that you will hear on the vocoder. And Crazy D was the one who filmed that, matched it up. So you know, you need video work, you come and talk to me, and you know, we'll hook it up. Or you need to shoot some footage to send to a video in another state, we can do it. We make it happen. Another thing that we want to talk about real quick is a film called, which is not on the list, but you should see this. We're going to talk about it in future, but you should see the one called
Excuse me.
The Laundromat,
Yeah.
right? The Laundromat, great film.
Merle Street.
Merle
Jeffrey
Street.
Wright.
Jeffrey Wright, but Merle Street,
Yes.
at the end of this film,
Yeah.
she does this performance at the end of the film where she basically takes off layers and comes to herself.
Right.
And any actress, I don't
Right.
care what race you are,
Right.
what you believe in as far as acting, if you can ever pull off anything as genius
That's
as what
did.
she did,
Yeah.
you are truly
Right.
a great actress.
What did I say after
Actor.
that scene? I said, I see why now she deserves every Oscar,
Every Oscar.
Golden Globe, Emmy. What is it? Emmy.
Yeah. So that's The Laundromat.
Because she kills it.
The title throws you off a little bit. It's not about a laundromat.
No.
So you need to see the film.
About laundering money.
Yeah, well, we didn't want to tell them that.
Well, they don't know what
We
it's
wanted to go
about
see
though,
it. Okay.
because there are multiple stories.
Layers. It's multiple
layers,
stories.
multiple storylines.
It's a new way. It's another new way of telling a story, kind of
Right.
like Pulp Fiction was
Right.
in '95.
Right.
This is today, and it's
Right.
on Netflix
or
right
Crash
now.
with multiple storylines.
Right, Crash.
Yeah.
Okay, another film we just came from a movie seeing is called Waves.
Yes.
Right? See this movie, we're going to be reviewing this movie. We're going to be reviewing Waves in the next few weeks. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be reviewing it, but we want you to watch it, and so that you can call in and give your viewpoint on it. This is another storytelling new prototype of telling a story. You know, a story usually has a beginning, middle, and end. This one goes in waves, and so you know, that's another film that you should see, and we're going to be reviewing in the next couple of weeks. Now, people, before we move on to the next topics at hand, the TFR showcase. That's right. We are now booking for new filmmakers and new artists who want their music, want to interview, and want to promote their film or promote their music. You come on, you get an interview with us. You send your interest of being on to Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com. Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com, and we will send you the information, and we will get you on all the platforms. We'll get you out there to the people, right? And we want to say that because we are here for the independent, right? We are here for the independent. And last, before we get started, that's not it. That's not what we're talking about.
You know, while you're doing that, the movie Waves is starring Sterling K. Brown, and then we know him from the TV show on NBC, This Is Us. So he's in the movie Waves, and he kills it. He kills it. Yeah, along with starring Taylor Russell, Kevin Harris Jr., Renee Ellis Goldberg, Alexia Demi. I mean, great cast. So check out Waves, and we will discuss.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing Waves. Now, people, let's get here real quick. This right here is the new double digital spotlighting independent artists. Right? It's the Christmas edition and the New Year's edition. So big it needed two covers.
I like the covers.
Two digitals. You know what I'm saying? You know, because Crazy D is live. You see the Santa D. Crazy Santa D. Crazy, say it fast. Crazy Sanity. Crazy Sanity. Right? And then Happy New Year, Real MCs. So this one is Merry Christmas to the Real MCs. And this is Happy New Year, Real MCs, right?
So speaking of New Year, you can bring in the New Year at the Jimmy Kimmel Comedy Club with Lunel.
That's true. And so episode 8 of the music review show, the film review, music review show, episode 8 is up on Vimeo, is up on Mixcloud, right? All you have to do is just search on Vimeo or Mixcloud, LordlandFilms.com or Lordland Films, and it will come right up, and you're able to listen to it. Also, it is on Spotify. It is on Apple Podcasts. It's on Google Play. It's on Podcast Addict. It's on all your favorite podcast platforms because we spread out to the masses.
And the mixes are nice.
That's right. You know, these are, you know, like compilation style. But the way I put it together, there is no break. It keeps moving. It's like it's mixed, baby. So you have to be there to see it. Now, people, before we move any further, now let's move on to the topic of the night before we get into reviewing Shaft, right? So the topic for the night, the top 5 reasons, the top 5 reasons the world forgets his story. the top 5 reasons why the world, that will be
Yeah.
people,
Right.
people around the world
Right.
forget his story. The top 5 reasons. So we're going to start with number 5. And when I say forget his story, what I'm talking about is the violence and the destruction that
Right.
the white supremacists,
Right.
the Caucasian,
Right.
the bigoted individual
Right.
who has band together to do this, why the top 5 reasons why the world forgets his story, right? Because if they really knew his story,
It will repeat
then
the same.
it wouldn't repeat. We wouldn't
Right.
be on the hamster wheel. Okay, number 5.
Right.
The cause of the struggle recycles for new generations.
Right.
The cause of the struggle is repackaged and given to the next generation to decipher the puzzle
Right.
by discrediting the generation before that was doing the deciphering, right? Causing books to be written, programs to be edited that teach the same things over
Right.
and over again to the next generations,
Yeah.
right? It's basically being on the hamster wheel.
Right.
So if you're sitting there and the cause of the struggle is recycled to you, but you don't know
Right.
that something came before that already explained it to you, which gets to number 4 and 3. Number 4, lack of self-determined thought process. Even when the information is disseminated, people don't want to hear it, but to be self-determined,
Right.
one day they must, right?
Right.
So lack of self-determinated thought process. Even when the information is disseminated, people don't want to hear it, but to become self-determined,
Right.
one day they must, right? And the reason why most people don't want to hear the information is kind of more subconscious than conscious, is the tactic used in number 3, the use of the carrot or the stick.
Right.
Propping up examples of success versus quote unquote failure.
Right.
Free fighters
Right.
are dead.
Right.
Conformist example,
Right.
like Oprah with the situation, not talking about
Yeah.
Weinstein,
Okay.
are rich.
Yes.
And so that's the carrot or the stick.
Right.
So the more we see sorrow
Right.
porn, black sorrow porn
Right.
in movie theaters, where at the end the person doesn't succeed,
Right.
they fall off, it's not necessarily doing us any good to see that, right?
Right.
Because it's the carrot or the stick, right? And so most of the people who are free fighters get the stick. Those who conform get rich, right? It appears, but in the end, even they're gotten, right? So number 2, the forgiving spirit
Right.
put into the masses through mass religion,
Right.
which programs each generation to forget. So it's not just forgiveness, but once the generation who felt that the ones who weren't massacred, who feel they made it through, they have a forgiving spirit, and they forget what was done to them, and they put on excuses to why it was done to them. Oh, look at them, they were wearing the zoot suits. Oh, look at them, they were wearing bad clothes. That's why the police was blowing down on them, when really you were dressed to the nines. They were blowing down on you, and you're dressed in street attire.
You had on military
uniforms. You're lynched. So
still harassed.
So people have a forgiving spirit, and thus and so as they get older and as it goes along, they forget, which leads into 3, 4, 5. Right? You see how this breaks down, right?
Yeah.
And why do they have a forgiving spirit? Because when they see Caucasian white Jesus, they say, I can't really raise my hand to my God. Number 1, gatekeepers.
Okay.
Gatekeepers over Hollywood. The example, Orlando Jones' situation with American Gods.
Right.
Here's a guy, the first showrunners were one way, and
Right.
they told a story where there were black gods.
Right.
Second showrunner comes in, is not as successful, and
Right.
decides to go back to telling black god story.
Right.
This one comes in and
wants to completely
it wants to
erase.
totally erase it, right?
Right.
Which is a total aggravation, right?
Right.
So, gatekeepers over Hollywood,
Right.
gatekeepers over the textbook,
Right.
history blurbs with example, history blurbs with Trump supporters,
Okay.
where a reporter uses Nixon's impeachment facts,
Right.
and the Trump supporters didn't know
Right.
because the history of Nixon is not in the history book, because somebody says,
Right.
let's not muddy up Republicans,
Right.
or let's not muddy up Democrats
Right.
by putting in Bill Clinton in the cigar, or
Okay.
putting in Nixon and the impeachment
Right.
hearings, and thus and so people, they're not educated, and so gatekeepers over the textbooks,
Right.
gatekeepers over commercials on television.
Right.
They show you mixed couples and they make it seem
Right.
like America is interracial relationships, when
Right.
that's furthest from the truth,
Right.
because of fear of the black planet, right?
Right.
Controlling over the internet, and we
Right.
see that now. The new rules that are coming down, trying to stop people from putting across. At first, it was like the Wild Wild West.
Right.
Now they put clamps on it. Finally found a way to put clamps on it, and now you have to watch what you say, which means that you can't put across the information that's necessary. So that is the top 5 reasons why his story is
Right.
forgotten. Number 5, the cause of the struggle recycle for new generations. Number 4,
Right.
lack of self-determined thought process. Number
Right.
3, the use of carrot or stick. Number 3,
Right.
the forgiving spirit. And number 1, gatekeepers over Hollywood, over the textbooks, over commercials on television, and over the internet.
Right. And I agree with your list. And I just want to add also, for example, today we were watching a channel, and in their, was it like a commercial?
Mm-hmm.
And because it's all about, this channel is all about like musicals and entertainment, films with musicals.
Right.
So in this commercial, like they show all of the different routines, and we see like Fred Astaire
Mhm.
and so many of the other like old like Hollywood actors, movies doing their routines, right?
Dance
routines, singing, and so. But I asked you, I said, well, they didn't show the Nicholas brothers.
Right.
And they were famous and known for being great dancers,
Great
right?
dancers, right.
So it's like, okay, so we're gonna wipe them out of history?
Right.
And then so, that, and then also if one of the other reasonings also, I feel, if they can rewrite history, right? And wipe away the truth, such as like the atrocities, let's say that, were done, have been done, still are being done to Black Americans, then we don't have to talk about what we did to a community of people.
Right.
And if we kind of like ignore all of this, then we can wash away and wipe away the whole reparations, right?
Right.
Because we don't have to admit to what we did to a community.
That's right. And we can make that community seem like it's more violent, when the most violent people on the planet
Right.
are the white supremacists.
All across
the world.
Right.
So
every
people-
country has a story they can tell you.
Every country. And speaking of countries, people,
colonization.
the Film Review,
Right.
Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society podcast, the husband
Right.
and wife team,
Right.
are all over the globe, and we
Right.
are going global,
Yeah.
countries at a time,
Right.
right? And we are on, again, what did I say? Oh yes,
Spotify,
iHeart, Apple Podcast, Google Play,
right,
Podcast Addict,
right,
and of course, what's the last one? We already said Spotify. That's right. So make sure, people, that you tune in and you tell a friend.
Yes.
Because we are spreading across these. When you see the dark blue, that means that it's real heavy.
Okay.
Like we're heavy here in Europe, right? And we're picking up. But this is Indonesia, and then this right here is India, and this right here is Azania, which is South Africa. Over here is, let me see if I move my hand back, is Tunisia right there, right next to Libya. And then, you just going on. Egypt, right? We are playing in countries, and that's why people who have film and people who have music, they need to get with you, because you can build your plans from off of who watches and listens to us on the map, right? That's what we afford you. So Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com. That's Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com. Now, people, the last of the night.
Yes.
The last of the night. And we had a jam-packed show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And well, actually, it's not the last of the night, because we still have to talk about none other than the Watchmen. That's right. So Shaft, 1971.
Yep.
48 years ago, right? Strong Black Man Archetype.
Yep.
John Shaft, played by Richard Roundtree, right? Opens with the theme by Isaac Hayes.
Yep.
Introduces Shaft via visuals.
Right.
He is a hard-nosed New Yorker that New York traffic can't even stop.
Right.
You remember the intro. It breaks from the God shot to when the cabbie almost hits him, and he goes, then it cuts to looking through from the POV of the cabbie. Beautiful work on the part of the cinematographer and the director, Gordon Park, right?
Yeah.
The film really kicks off with a goon going out the plate glass window of Shaft's office and plunging. That's when the film really kicks off. It's about the mob has taken a numbers runner, or let me say a black gangster's daughter, and Shaft has to get her back. It's hired to get her back, right?
Yes.
It's the mob, black liberation fighters, the police, black love, black gangsters, all in one cacophony with the Isaac Hayes soundtrack. Right?
Yeah. This is another classic film.
Another classic film. Now, so what makes Shaft so interesting is he is a private detective that, if not respected by the mob, they know after it's finished, they know not to mess with him. Right? He sticks it to the man.
Right.
But at the same time, the liberation fighters consider him the man because he works alongside the man. So it is telling a story of what we go through today. How people say, "Oh man, you can't be nothing but a coon because you work with the man." Right? And so it's a dynamic, and it's all pushing through. And Shaft, though not a coon, he is shown throughout the film, has to push to prove himself again and again, not to people, but to himself. That he is the strong black male archetype that's walking through. Now, once it got to TV, well, they kind of took Richard Roundtree and made him say yes, a boss on TV. But the film,
this is reminding me of American Gods now. But anyway,
yes. So there's Shaft, Shaft's big score.
Okay.
Shaft in Africa.
Right.
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 3 films. Richard Roundtree.
Yes.
Great.
Right.
Black acting.
Yes. Excellent.
Black actor.
Yeah.
Storyline, the through line
Yep.
of one sticking it to the man,
Right.
and then at the same time,
Right. Great music.
great music, and at the same time, being that strong figure that people
Yeah.
do call on
Right.
to solve things,
Right.
to solve situations they cannot solve themselves.
Right.
Shaft,
Right.
and we're not going to go into
Costume and design, like we cannot
not
talk
go
about his
leather jacket.
yes, just great, and hair and just nice.
No Name Bar.
Yeah.
Just the music alone, besides the scene, Isaac Hayes.
What's the Shaft an independent film?
Well, it's independent, but it was distributed.
Okay.
He
Okay.
distributed. It was distributed by the majors.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But Gordon Park, who was the photographer
Right.
of the decade, then,
Right.
of the century, then,
Right.
who covered the Dust Bowl,
Right.
who covered the civil rights movement down south.
Right.
There's a picture of a young woman and her daughter in the white. Both of them are
nice.
dressed in white,
Yeah.
and above them is a sign in neon that says "Colored
Yeah.
Only."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Colored Only.
Yeah.
It's a searing picture
Yeah.
that just tells the tale, and his images and
Yeah.
his Gordon Park's images
Right.
and his cinematography in this,
Yeah.
the angles that he catches
Yeah. Beautiful.
to tell the story,
Right.
beautifully done.
Yeah.
Right? And you should see Shaft
You should.
not only for it being a strong black male archetype,
Yeah.
but for everything we said. So what would you rate the film?
Definitely a 10.
I would give it, I'm going to give it a 10 for everything that I said. Go ahead.
Yeah. And to know that his son,
Went
Gordon
on
Park's
to do
son,
Junior,
right,
went on to do
Superfly,
And
right,
he
which is
took-
also a classic,
He took his father's concept of the God shot
right,
and took it to a whole nother level
Right.
by actually having dialogue happen between the two junkies
Yeah.
that are walking. Watch this. From the God shot, they are talking,
right,
right? But when you look close, their lips aren't actually moving. It's ADR put in later.
Right.
Beautiful work. And
Right.
then it shows them, and we've talked about that before. Go back and watch our review on Superfly.
yes,
Right?
yes,
His son was taking his father's vision and putting his vision to it and taking it further, right?
yeah,
Wow. This has been a robust show.
yes.
So now, people,
The Watchmen,
The Watchmen, right?
on HBO,
On HBO.
yeah, starring
Okay,
Regina
We're
King.
going to be watching that in a few minutes. But anyway, look, people.
The last
The
episode,
last
right?
episode of the season. Now, does it tell an uncomfortable truth? Watchmen on HBO. Does Watchmen tell an uncomfortable truth?
Right.
Set in an alternative world where mass superheroes are seen as criminals or vigilantes masked. Amongst that world, that dystopia. Utopia is everything is nice. Dystopia is everything is not nice. It's disjointed. The world is cracked. It's Dutch. It's just messed up. Amongst that, the police are masked, and they fight against a white supremacist organization.
Right.
Right? This is a shocker for anyone who saw the original Watchmen movie in the theaters. You would have thought that Watchmen was going to be one thing and that Regina King's character was only going to be, just one of the Watchmen. But this whole situation turns from being something about nuclear destruction to the destruction of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. They take historic facts
Yes.
to tell a story, right? Based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, it begins in a flashback sequence that brings you to a forward sequence, right? Begins in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in Black Wall Street, the Black Wall Street Massacre, where they always used to call these things race riots, but it was only one thing. It was only one race rioting against the other race that was successful while they were having downtime. That's what most of these race riots were about. It was the Caucasians that were in bad situation, where the black community were thriving. Rosewood, oh man, I can't believe I'm going blank. So many though. And then this one, Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. 1921 is one of the most well-known situations. It takes a look at race during an unexpected time in our history where racism, bigotry, and hate openly raises its head. And we're not talking about back in 1921. We're talking about right now. In 2019, right? We're talking about right now. It's taking a look at racism and bigotry and white supremacy during a time, uncomfortable time, which we are going through right now. Right? Regina King is Angela Abar. Yahya Abdul Mateen II is Cal Abar. Louis Gossett Jr. is Will Reeves. Javon Adepo, young Will Reeves. Jamal Akapo is Bass Reeves. Now, the first episode 1, this is a spoiler, people, but it's not going to spoil anything, but it opens up and it's in black and white, and you hear the music playing, and it's a silent film playing, right? There is a person in white being chased on a horse by a person all dressed in black. So there's a white horseman, then there is a person dressed in black chasing him, right? And the white person is knocked off the horse, and the black person comes up, and then some white folks come running out of a church, right? And when I looked at this, it was like, "What's going on, Ranger?" As they do the subtitling, right? "What's going on, Ranger?" And then he says, "I'm Bass Reeves." And so for people who know who Bass Reeves is, he's the original Texas Ranger. He is actually the Lone Ranger. And as we know, the Lone Ranger, they turned it had the man put on a mask, a black mask, and it's kind of like the story that's told within, it's a metaphor, it's an assembly. This is to this, that is to that. It's kind of like what the story is told within the Watchmen in actual time of REEL time in the storyline, about how a certain superhero is thought to be one thing, and portrayed to be one thing, but in actuality he is actually someone else. Right? So Bass Reeves. So when I said that's Lone Ranger. That's the Lone Ranger. I kept saying, that's the Lone Ranger. That's the Lone Ranger, right? It's good to be able to know these things. That's what goes about being sane as a black person. That's why it's important to see black images and know black history. We put a post up on Instagram with the black inventors. Right? And it went like around, and it's going to town. Everyone loves it. Black inventors, because you see things, because black people were actually the ones doing the work, so those would be the ones who would invent things to make work easier. And then as it was, people were able to take it because you had no rights, and etc. But to know this is to be sane, and then you can sit up and watch that television program and know, oh, that was when we were young and we didn't know
Right.
about what was happening. So we have to revert back and think about when we were young to be able to
Right.
enjoy
Yeah.
all white movies where they may
Right.
have blacks in the back doing subservient things, right? Now, this folklore is created for Watchmen, a DC comic by Damon Lindelof.
Okay.
Lindelof. That's how I pronounce it. Lindelof, right?
Right.
It's based on the 1996 Watchmen by Alan Moore and David Gibson, right?
Okay.
It kind of reminds us of American Gods, the way the first season of American Gods
Yeah.
was,
It's really
and how
strong.
it introduced Mr. Nancy
Yes.
and introduced more of the guy. I mean, there was a black female god
Yes.
that was swallowing
Yeah.
men up whole.
Yeah, we don't want to.
You have to see
You have to
season one
see
of American
season one.
Gods, right?
Yeah.
Then season 2, you have to, well, you're going to have to watch to get the storyline, but past the first 4 episodes and the 5th through the rest, rolling like the first episode. This new season, unless they bring Mr. Nancy back, make sure that Orlando Jones is playing the part,
Right.
unadulterated, no cooning. They're gonna lose, and it's always. It seems like they don't feel like it matters that they lose, but they lose. Right. Let's go through the cast real quick.
Starring, of course, Regina King. You said Yahya Abdul Mateen II, Louis Gossett Jr., legend. Jeremy Irons, Don Johnson, Tim Blake Nelson, Andrew Howard, Jean Smart. From the television show Designing Women. Haven't seen her in a while. So Jean Smart plays Agent Blake. Tom Myson, Francis Fisher, Adeline Clemens, Sarah Vickers.
I mean, it goes on and on.
It goes on and on. And also Hong Chow. She's also.
Yeah, she's also in it. And we're not going to go through the whole list. You can search that out for yourself. But let me tell you something. The creator said when he chose who the Masked Avenger would be, he was a comic book guy, and so they never revealed who he was, and so he chose to go in this direction. And you have to see this. Now, one thing about Regina King's character, Angela Abar, Louis Gossett Jr., Will Reeves, young Will Reeves, Bass Reeves, do you get it? They are related. Now, this is folklore within folklore of DC Comics.
Yes.
Here's a real man, right? Bass Reeves, who is the Lone Ranger, and these characters that are drawn in this story on the Watchmen are related to Bass Reeves.
Yes. That was nice to find. Nice touch. Nice to find.
So you see, like when you go back and you look at the Blaxploitation movies of the 70s, a lot of them were produced or maybe even written by Jewish writers, except for Dolomite. Dolomite was written by a black man, produced by a black man, shot by a black man. But for a lot of the times, they were combination of Jewish and black people coming together to make this film. Now, this is the same thing with let me get his name again so I can have it. Damon Lindelof. I'm trying to shorten the name. Damon Lindelof, right? Okay. That's probably how it's pronounced.
Okay.
He has a heart to tell this story because he had been watching documentaries. Yes. Right? And he had been watching documentaries and he had come to this and it kept sticking in his mind and he decided to go this way, and this has brought out a masterpiece with the acting prowess that he has on screen, right? Yeah. And it's something that is so interesting. It is to me, we were going to say this last week, I will say it now, is the number one show on television that has to do with action, adventure, shooting, all that, superheroes. It's the best production on TV.
Yeah.
But I fear, because HBO hasn't, even though it's the number one thing, HBO has not officially at this time called for it to be renewed.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So they snuck one through. Right? They snuck one through.
Right.
It educated Caucasians in this country about a travesty that happened with Black Wall Street that was self-sustaining, self-determined, had industry. Matter of fact, they were trading with China, had that set up before America was trading with China. And what happens? America somehow takes over what Black people were doing, and then they start trading. You see? But they had this trade line going back and forth with China before America was trading with China. Do you see what I'm saying to you here? So this is one that snuck through, and I fear that the aggravation, that because that's what they teach, what you're taught, that white supremacy, white supremacists are put there to put you in a constant state of aggravation, to keep you on the hamster wheel. What we talked about, the top 5 reasons why the world or people forget his story. Right? And it's a constant thing. So here we are, we're telling a story about his story in a context of self-determined Black people to uplift themselves still. And then here comes someone in that may be a different showrunner, that may fear that there may be a Denmark VC style uprising from Black people in America if they see this on TV, which makes me believe now that when white folks see white supremacists or those those motorcycle gang shows on TV, they actually believe it. It's not just entertainment. And when they see them smashing and killing up Black folks, they believe it. Because, and thus and so, then they project onto us that we're going to believe and want to uprise and do things because they do. It's really a weird situation, and so I fear that this constant state of aggravation, like everybody was waiting for, people who were hip to American Gods was looking forward to American Gods. Season 3. But now we're not too much looking forward to it, because I watched the first episode. I don't see Mr. Nancy. I think that
I mean, a lot of people, right? It was all over social media.
Yeah, all over.
A lot of people will not be happy.
There's a petition being signed to bring back Mr. Nancy, angry, self-determined as he was. You should go sign that and push it through. Matter of fact, we should call for the ouster of the showrunner and put the 2 original men back in who had the heart. That's my point. You can have a heart and have knowledge. They researched these gods, right? And they brought them to life, and they researched these gods, right? And they didn't, in their white supremacist mind, they freed themselves of white supremacist mind to be able to put this across. And this is what this man did for Watchmen. And that's why you should watch at least this one season. We don't know if it's going to be a season 2, because it's pretty strong. It's a lot of information.
Great writing. Yeah.
So people.
And acting, Regina King, she kills it.
So what would you rate it?
Watchmen definitely a 10, like I said, because of the acting. Regina King, she deserves. Now I wonder if she's an Oscar award winner, like Meryl Streep. Right, because Regina King is an excellent.
And did I mention
actor.
To say that somewhere in there's Dr. Manhattan?
Right.
And so watch it. You have to watch it. So you give it a 10?
10, definitely.
That's right. So I give it a 10.
Yes.
Costuming.
Yes.
Story through line.
Cinematography.
Based on actual living people.
Yeah.
You said cinematography.
Yes.
Acting prowess of the people who get up there and act and tell this story. 10. All right, people. So this has been another great episode of the Film Review.
Yes.
Movies, music, culture, politics, and society.
Yes.
We are the husband and wife team.
Yes.
I'm Crazy D.
Tracy.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and
And we also want
society.
to thank Keith for being on our show.
That's right. And thank Keith Lea for
Yes.
being on the show.
Yes.
Movies, music, culture, politics, and society. We will see
Yeah.
you next week on the Film
Yes.
Review.
Good night.
The Film Review. Music, culture, politics, society podcast. Interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.